I want to ask you something before we get into this. What's the difference between being thrown out of somewhere and choosing to leave it? Because by the time the story's over, almost everyone who's worn the Don Callis family colors has answered that question the hard way. Kicked out, used up, and quietly dropped. Andrade is the only one who answered it himself. 12 men, a steel cage. MJF is about to hit Mark Briscoe with a $100,000 diamond ring, and he needs someone to hold Briscoe still so he can land it clean. He picks Andrade. Andrade doesn't hold him still. He shoves him out of the way, puts MJF down with an elbow, kicks the guy standing next to him for good measure. And underneath the gear, the whole time there's a shirt, and it says exactly what you think it says. Nobody in that group gets to leave clean. That's the rule. Takeshita won a title that Callis didn't want him to win and got thrown out for it. Others just got used up and dropped. Andrade is the first one who opened the door himself. So the real question isn't why he turned. It's why a guy who spent his entire career needing to belong to something finally decided he didn't. Quick bit of context because it matters more than people give it credit for. Andrade is third generation. His dad wrestled. He debuted a month before his 14th birthday as Brillante Jr. before he had his own name. 8 years in CMLL as La Sombra, a founding member of Los Ingobernables in New Japan before he was old enough to legally drink in most countries. He's never really been alone in the business. He's always been somebody's guy, somebody's project, somebody's third generation. WWE signed him in 2015. NXT champion, United States champion. In 2021, he asked to leave and they let him. AEW picked him up within months. 2.5 years, no gold, a suspension along the way, a quiet exit at the end of 2023. Back to WWE for the Royal Rumble in January 2024, one title, Speed Champion, and then September 2025, WWE let him go again, wellness violations by most reports. This time, it wasn't his call, which makes what happens next almost funny if it wasn't so on brand for him. He tried to walk back into AEW, legally he couldn't. WWE sent a cease and desist, non-compete clause, pulled off television days after he'd already shown up. He spent the rest of 2025 waiting on a contract to expire before anyone would let him go back to work. So when Andrade walked into AEW on January 7th, 2026, for the first time in 6 years, nobody was releasing him, firing him, or blocking him. He picked this, and he picked the Don Callis family, which is where it gets interesting. For a while, it worked. It genuinely worked. Don Callis went on record saying that Andrade had no flaws left. Sharper, calmer, further along than anyone had ever seen him. The results backed it up. May Fukuoka Andrade beats Yota Tsuji clean for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Not an AEW title being handed to him for being in the right stable. A New Japan singles title, one on his own in New Japan's building. That's not a Don Callis family accomplishment. That's an Andrade accomplishment that happened to be wearing Don Callis family colors. He trolled MJF about it on the way out. How you know, Panquino Max? And for a few weeks, he had the belt, the momentum, and something that was entirely unambiguously his. But it didn't last. Mid-June, a three-way at Dominion, and Andrade loses the title without ever defending it once. Pinned in 16 minutes, Shota Umino's first singles title, the shortest reign that the belt had ever seen. On its own, it's just a bad night. But remember it going into what happens 2 weeks later, because Flawless has an expiration date. So it turns out that is patience. There's a version of the story where Forbidden Door is a snap decision. I don't buy it. Andrade came back to WWE in January, a shot at the AEW World Championship, said so repeatedly, loud on camera, and Don Callis was never in a worry to give it to him. What Callis was in a worry to do was to use him. Andrade was the guy who delivers, the reliable hand. When MJF needed bodies for a 6-on-6 war, Andrade was an easy pick. Not because his story was moving forward, but because he was good in a fight. There's a difference between being trusted and being useful. The family kept telling him he was useful. He wanted to be trusted with something. Even the small stuff pointed at it. In the build to that cage match, MJF's own ring caught Andrade with an accidental shot. A nothing moment if you're not paying attention. Except nothing about that ring turns into a nothing nothing moment, not in this story. So when Callis handed him one more job, hold Briscoe still, be useful again, I don't think it was ever really about Briscoe at all. Let's actually sit in the moment. It's better storytelling than people give it credit for. MJF lines up the shot, tells Andrade to hold Briscoe, and for a full second, you can see it if you go back and watch for it, Andrade just looks at him, not confused, deciding. Then he shoves Briscoe clear, turns, drops MJF with his own elbow, kicks the enforcer standing next to him, and there's a shirt underneath the gear that isn't subtle about anything. The cost wasn't small either. Team Briscoe won the cage. Mark Briscoe walked away with a title shot against MJF that Andrade's own team was supposed to be protecting. He didn't just cost himself a match, he handed the exact thing the family was being built to guard on the other side, on purpose in front of everyone. That's not a snap, that's a decision with a price tag, paid in full on camera, and the family remembers who sends a bill like that. The week after Forbidden Door, Andrade said it plainly, he's out and he wants the world title. The family's answer was to jump him, all of them, at once. That's what a group does when it can't win the argument, so it wins the fight instead. For 6 years, being a part of something was the one constant in his career. Now, for the first time, he's the guy standing across from a group instead of being one. No numbers, no Callis in his corner talking him up, just him. Which is probably why what he did next didn't look like a fight at all. Beach break. MJF tries to use the Dynamite Diamond Ring on Kenny Omega for the world title. Will Ospreay intercepts the ring at ringside before MJF can swing it. Omega wins the title clean. Nobody sees the ring again for a week. Then, on the following episode of Dynamite, Renee Paquette is interviewing Andrade, and he pulls it out like it's nothing. A $100,000 ring, MJF's ring, sitting on his finger. She asks the obvious question, did Ospreay give it to him? Andrade just smiles, how you know, and walks off. He didn't need to outfight the family to make his point. He just needed to win the one thing MJF uses to remind everyone he's still the guy to fear, and prove quietly, with a friend's help and smile, that he isn't. Mark Davis came out to confront him the same night. Andrade didn't flinch, slid the ring on, stared him down against until Davis backed off stage. It worked in the moment. It didn't buy him peace. The ring theft got him a title shot. It didn't get him forgiven. On Collision, Mark Davis found him backstage and skipped the promo entirely, just hit him. That's the answer to anyone wondering if the Don Callis family had let go of any of this. They hadn't. Davis wasn't there to talk. He was there to remind Andrade what was exactly waiting for him before he got ever near a championship. Redemption Montreal. Mark Davis defending the national championship against the one man who'd spent a month publicly declaring a war on his entire group. First name on the list. New entrance music, 4 women walking him to the ring, a shirt that says how you know. This isn't a man fighting for his life. This is a man having fun doing it. Partway through the match, he stops to take a selfie with a fan. At ringside, grabs a drink of someone's hand in the crowd, takes a sip, and spits it directly into Mark Davis's face. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, there's a title match happening. Davis goes for the pile driver, Andrade slips out, turns it into a Dia de los Muertos, follows it with the DM. New national champion, 16 minutes. His first singles title in AEW, 6 years after he first walked into the company. 1 down, 3 left, by his own account. And he took this one on his own terms, with a shirt quoting his own trash talk and someone else's drink. 4 days later, Detroit Dynamite. Andrade opens the show defending the national championship in a 3-way. Jack Perry and Nick Wayne both wanting it back off of him. Perry doesn't let him get comfortable. Super kicks before the bells even finished ringing, tries to get him out early so he and Wayne can finish it, can settle it between themselves. Doesn't matter, Andrade suplexes both of them. Snap Rana for Wayne, a top rope that wipes Perry out on the floor, and when it's over, Andrade is hitting the DM on Wayne for the pin. First defense done clean. Then Tony Schiavone gets him for the interview, and this is where it gets good. Andrade says he feels tranquilo, calm, at peace, because he screwed MJF. Kisses the ring while he says it, and he screwed Don Callis too. He says he's gonna be the best national champion the company's ever seen. Says he'll beat up anyone they put in front of him. Somebody brings up a Casino Gauntlet qualifier the next week. A shot at the actual all-in card. Andrade just smiles. How you know? Mexico City. Grand Slam Mexico, Arena Mexico, Trial of Lucha Libre, and Andrade's actual home country, in front of a crowd that already knew every word of his entrance before he said it. Three-way match, Commander, Tommaso Ciampa. The winner gets the #1 spot in the Casino Gauntlet at All In, a straight line to the AEW World Championship. The thing he said since day one. He wins it. Then he takes the mic, switching between Spanish and English without missing a beat, and tells the entire building he's gonna win the gauntlet and take the World Championship. Not for himself, for them, for Mexico. How you know he won't? For about 10 seconds, that's the whole story. A guy who spent his entire year proving people wrong, standing in his own home country, promising the biggest one yet. Then MGF's music hits. He comes through the crowd with the Triple B, the World Championship that he still insists is real, and blindsides Andrade before he can even turn around. Rips the Dynamite Diamond Ring straight off his finger, uses it to hit him with it, busts him open on the ramp, throws him into the barricade, grabs a mic, and makes sure the entire building knew what he thinks of Andrade and of the country hosting the show that night. Every ounce of goodwill from 30 seconds ago gone. The ring is back on MJF's hand by the end of the segment. And next week, MJF says he's fighting for the #2 spot in the Casino Gauntlet, which means that the two of them could be standing in the exact match at the exact same time at All In. It would have been enough for this to just be a receipt. Prove the family wrong, take a title, move on. But watch how he did it. No numbers, no protection, no Callis in his corner explaining why he belonged there. Just him. Everyone else who's left the group left with a grievance. Andrade left with a punchline, and now he's got the hardware to back it up. Twice and counting. Mexico City is the reminder that none of this is actually settled yet. Every time he wins clean, somebody from that old life shows up to take something back. The ring, the title, the moment. He keeps having to win it twice. He's the #1 entrant in the Casino Gauntlet at All In. A real life shot at the AEW World Championship. The exact thing he came back to AEW to chase in the first place. And MJF's already promised to be in the same match, going for the same prize. Maybe even he's confirmed by the time you're seeing this, because I take a while to edit my videos. The war declared in that cage isn't close to being over. If anything, Mexico City just made it personal in a way the rest of the story hadn't been yet. Everyone else who's left the Don Callis family got pushed out of it. Takeshita won something they didn't want him to have and got thrown out for it. Others just got used up and quietly dropped. Andrade is the one walked out looking back at it, took a title on his way out the door and made it look easy. Andrade wasn't kicked out of the family. He left. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I know I haven't uploaded in a while. I just been taking a break. I just took a break for a bit just to sort of reflect upon the type of content I want to make on this channel. I think I'm done making like reactionary videos or review-esque videos. I think I want this channel to be focused on video essays about wrestling, like this one and the previous ones that I've made. So I think that's gonna be more of my focus now, just like proper long form videos that take a bit to make, but I think those are the videos that I'm the most proud of at the end of the day. In this video I was saying Andrade, then I was saying Andrade, so I'm not Mexican, I'm not Spanish speaking, I'm not American or like English speaking, so I do kind of get things mixed up, but I hope you guys got my point. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good